should get your phone, Kristoff.
Why? What's wrong now?
Nothing.
One more chip.
I low blissed it. Okay, I think we're good.
Are we on finally? We're here? We're alive? Can you hear?
Are we allowed to do the show?
Can we be heard?
Yeah, they heard us.
Did the elder gods give approval?
Thank you, Jesus, for not saying anything.
Hi, Connie. Hi, Tara. Hello, Mr. Bishop. Wow, that was one of the most awkward starts we've ever had. Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome back to From One Side to the Other. Yeah, he's still up there. Calm down. Did someone give him sugar again? Did you give him sugar?
But of course!
You son of a Protestant!
He asked nicely.
You do not give the kobold sugar. Ever. The help that I have around here. Anyway, folks,
You can sit on it.
welcome once again to From One Side to the Other. I am your host, Kristoff N. Chester. Oh, Sean's got a lightning storm where he is. Well, don't go outside. Stay inside here with us where it's safe.
Those are fun. They happen all the time.
Go
We
out there
haven't had a lightning storm here
No,
yet
we
this
haven't
year.
even had a tornado warning in years.
We had one last year.
Did we?
Yeah, Corbett actually called us.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
He was like on the other side of the reservoir. He called us, and it was actually a big one.
Yeah.
Oh.
And
But it
nothing
only
happened.
lasted.
I don't even remember that. But if there's a lightning storm, remember, a kite with a key attached to it equals great times.
You'll become famous because that's totally how that happened.
Yup.
Anyway, though, so last week was, what even was that? We were sober last week. That's the scary part about last week's show.
Man, the week I've had has just been fucking...
Yeah, I was sober.
Yeah.
I wasn't at some point, but the week I had is...
Yeah, I know. It's funny because last week was very fun and had lots of laughs and everyone had a good time. Yeah, well, that's the first thing I'm going to change. Because this week is not going to be happy or funny or cheer. I felt something. What happened?
Chupacabras messing with the camera.
Choopy, would you calm your tits?
Would you like some more soda?
No, he would not.
He's telling me we need the light on.
I told you.
We were just kind of rushing for this show because someone was asleep, which was probably me.
Not that.
Anyway, so tonight.
Tonight's going to be a good show. I mean,
Tonight we're talking more about the horrors of war. Now, last time we discussed this, we talked about like supernatural stuff. Tonight I decided we're going to talk about, how do I put this?
It's not a war crime the first time.
Basically. We're talking more about some tangible horrors, man-made horrors. Because, you know, they say that if you really want to get the most work out of a man, promise him sex. However, there is also an incredible amount of energy that you can get out of someone when you promise them they'll be the first to kill someone in a certain way. Yeah, no. Humanity, whether you prefer it or not, being pessimist or optimist. You okay over there?
I'm waiting for you to give your monologue. I'm just going to hop by now.
Mine is freaking
Since
well.
you acknowledge me.
You're distracting me. Anyway, for better or worse, humanity has proven to be one of the most prolific and efficient killers on planet Earth, which is saying something considering how, evolutionarily speaking, humans aren't really all that impressive.
Yeah, there's a movie quote I liked. I can't. Got the movie at home. I just don't remember the name of it. There's more ways to kill a man than there is to make bread. There's more ways to kill a person than there is to have sex. In other words, humanity is really good at getting rid of each other.
Oh yes, we are incredible at it. And see, the sad thing is I've always walked a bit of a darker path. And while I acknowledge that the things we're going to talk about are absolute atrocities, and the idea of inflicting these things onto another human being, how do I put this, is at best conscionably objectable. And that's putting it nicely. At the same time, there is something impressive. You know what I mean? Think about it. Humans, for our body size and mass, are one of the physically weakest creatures on the planet. We haven't, what was it that Vincent Price said? We haven't a claw or a fang or even a whistle to talk about. And yet, damn, we can do this shit in our sleep, can't we?
Yeah.
Anyway, though. But the first one we're going to talk about is admittedly a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. One of my favorite weapons of warfare ever. Partially because the name is just fun to shout. I'm of course talking about der Flammenwerfer. Now, for those of you who don't speak German, Flammenwerfer is literally the flamethrower. Now, specifically, we're going to discuss the OG, the original, the Klein Flammenwerfer, or small Flammenwerfer, sometimes referred to simply as a Kilf, which is ironically enough the sound it makes right before it turns you into charcoal. This weapon is interesting because tactically, in terms of practicality, it's a terrible weapon.
No longer in use.
Yeah, really no one uses it. And I mean, of course, obviously, modern day wish they were virtuosos and stuff off.
Oh no, we stopped using it because it became a lot easier with the push of a fucking button.
Yeah, they tried to claim that it's, they're unethical, they're immoral. No, that's not why they stopped
They
using
were
flamethrowers.
More when they were using them.
They were impractical is why they stopped using them. And I can only imagine what the chat is saying right now, but we'll worry about that later. The Flammenwerfer was designed with one singular solitary goal in mind, regardless of what Germany wants to say now. The truth of the matter is, they knew back then it was impractical and incredibly dangerous to use, by the way. Having, I believe, a 40% fatality rate for the user, not even from enemy fire. Yeah. The things themselves would malfunction and blow up. But the reason that they used them was that they were designed for trench warfare in two directions. On one side, if the Germans had to retreat from a trench, they could use a Flammenwerfer and literally fill the trench with fire. I mean, no one's going to chase your ass after that, right? But the more common use for it was to flood enemy trenches with fire. For a very specific reason. See, most people don't consider this, but Germany did not have a good time of it in World War I. They were fighting away from home. Everything the Germans needed, food, clothes,
supplies,
any kind of supply, they had to wait days at best, and most likely weeks, before they could get their hands on it. As opposed to their British or English enemies, who were like, what, a good hour's walk back to their house, pretty much?
Probably.
Yeah. The Germans couldn't have World War I be a long fight. It had to be over quickly. But the only real way to do that is to make your opponent not want to fight. Which means they had to be as horrible, as frightening, and honestly, yeah, monstrous as they could be. Now, the Flammenwerfer was not a single weapon. It was actually a series of pieces. Usually, for efficiency, it would be a two-man team. One man carried a fuel tank, usually on his back, and the other had what they referred to as the lance, which was basically a hose.
That's where the fire part came out.
Mm-hmm. Now, the problem with our wonderful toy is that it had a range of around 30 to 35 meters. Now, that sounds like a lot.
It's not.
It's not when you compare it to the range that a rifle has. Hell, even a musket can fire better than that.
Yeah, but like the thing is with trench warfare, you're practically within a small space, literally the size of this couch.
Yeah.
Is how
long range really isn't a factor.
No, it's short range. Like one of the weapons that they had during trench warfare were I forgot what they're called, but they were just pretty much beating sticks. They would put
a baton mace thing. Yeah.
They would put spikes on it. They would use axes. Canada introduced a short barrel shotgun.
Yep. The whole reason that there is a short barrel shotgun is because of that. Honestly, that everyone jokes that the sawed off is an American thing. No, that was Canada. That was Canada.
Most people also think like the Ninja Convention, like that was a bunch of other countries. No, a good chunk of the stuff on that list is stuff that Canada did.
Mm-hmm. That was Canada. Canada, ironically, was a pretty big factor in getting that whole thing to go down.
That's what happens when you interrupt their hockey season.
Oh yes, don't you dare. You can make war if you want, but don't do it during hockey. That's like the only thing they have over there.
Not during hockey.
But no, the Flamenwolfer was horribly impractical. Sometimes they would try and make it a little bit more efficient by having two people carrying smaller canisters of fuel, dividing it between them both.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you had a dude with literally some padding to, I guess, maybe stop a bullet. And then Joe in back with a tank.
No.
And there's one story I heard that I'm assuming everyone's heard a flamethrower start up. It sounds like the roar of a dragon. Like it literally sounds like a monster roaring. That is by design. See, the Germans were very fond of night raids on the trenches. So, I want you to picture something. It's about 2 a.m. You're probably tired as hell. Suddenly you hear a bunch of noise and clamor some meters away further down in the trenches. And then suddenly there's a bright light on the horizon. And you hear what sounds like Satan stubbing his toe. And you know that 2 or 3 of your friends just became the definition of a crispy critter. So, you ready to go and fight for the homeland? Yeah. Here's the funny thing. The Germans prided themselves on having an iron will, which ironically enough is something that later Stalin tried to coin. But the Germans were the original iron-willed warriors. Nothing scared a German. Nothing could make a German flinch. Except for the Flammenwolfer. It's not talked about, but many Flammenwolfer soldiers, they retired early. Claiming that even for them, even to do to their enemy, the sight of what the Flammenwolfer actually did to people was so horrible that they would suffer from what back then was called battle fatigue, which today we call post-traumatic stress disorder. And for the record, no, I'm not rewriting history. You okay over there?
Perfect. Good.
No, I'm not rewriting history. You can look it up. The definition of what battle fatigue was and what post-traumatic stress disorder is called today are the same thing.
Yeah, just
Battle fatigue, yeah, it's literally a different term. That's all it is. It was battle fatigue.
Oh, what they had to see when they were using it, like
Oh yeah,
Fine,
no. See
like-
that because keep in mind this is a weapon that at worst maybe can get 30, 35 meters. That's
You're still pretty close to being able to see what that thing does to people.
yeah.
Because trench warfare,
A lot of
you're
them-
fighting.
A lot of them complained about the smell. Actually,
Yeah.
the smell of burning human is unique.
There's a no man's land. You can't go out there at all. That's where open fire happens.
Mm-hmm.
They're shooting cannons. They're shooting each other.
And this is World War One. They had cavalry.
Yeah.
They literally had horses
Where you would jump out of the trench and run.
with a horse and just hope and pray that you could trample someone before they hail you.
Yeah.
Canada
And-
rode bicycles.
I'm sorry, I'm just picturing the Wicked Witch of the West. But instead of cackling, it's like, hey!
And then as soon as you would get to the other trench, it's hand-to-hand combat right off the bat. And you don't even know how many of your people got there, and you had to.
You don't even
and-
have time to look around and see if your friend is still beside you.
Yeah.
So I was saying,
and
if
have
you
to-
get to the trench.
Yeah. If you get to the trench, and then it starts going on, and if you're a flamethrower unit, you start spraying.
Mm-hmm.
There are
And you
people,
just
like,
hope-
as far as way, close by, not that far away, you're gonna have to fucking hit them. And that's if they die from the flames. Most of them are gonna be burned really badly. They will succumb to their injuries, but like
In a minute or two. That's
there's
still
gonna
enough
be
time for them.
The screaming.
And the
the
literal
smell.
the literal friendly fire, by the way, because you might have buddies that made it to the trench and are in there.
Yeah.
And you don't. Supposedly, they actually would sometimes. Because again, a lot of men, when they use the Flammenwerfer, they refused to use it again. They were like, no, absolutely not, and please God forgive me for what I did. So they
You
would
can't even sit in front
blindfold
of you
them.
with that thing.
Well, no, they would literally blindfold them. So that at the very least, they wouldn't have to see it.
They can smell it though.
They'd smell it, they would hear it. They literally were blindfolded, walking forward with their little tank carrier, like, keep going, Hans. Keep going, Hans. Stop. Okay. War crime, go.
Pretty much.
Hans is just sitting there, thinking happy thoughts, thinking happy thoughts.
If I remember correctly, I think the last time any force used a flamethrower might have been like Vietnam.
I believe it was Nom.
I know they were used in World War II, and
Yeah.
they were used on the caves, and
They were
They
the
had-
Flammenwerfer was like a thing of nightmares, dude. In any
like
war.
During World War II, I can't say the goddamn word.
Hiroshima.
Hiroshima, they were using them there. They were using them.
Iwo Jima and
Yeah.
Okinawa.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Iwo Jima. Yeah.
Anytime they would find an entrance to a cave,
First thing, fire.
fire, and then right after grenades.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about World War II is they shot him into caves because the flames would suck the oxygen out,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and that was
Create a vacuum. Yeah.
so.
You ever seen a human in a vacuum? Not for long, you haven't.
Nope. And the problem, the reason why they would do that is because they made intricate tunnels with multiple exits, multiple entrances. You didn't know, they didn't know where they were at. They were well hidden,
Mm-hmm.
well protected as well.
Another use of the Flammenwerfer was to destroy. In World War One was the destruction of structures.
the pillboxes and
Yeah. But yeah, no, I've always thought it's kind of funny because it's a fun word to shout. Like Flammenwerfer, it's fun, right? And yet, almost everyone who ever actually used one pretty much refused. Like, no, there were literally people who freaking defected to AWOL and stuff like that because it was like, please no, don't put that weapon back in my hands. And then, of course, there were like the 2 or 3 psychopaths who actually did like it and did make routine runs with the damn things, and they probably weren't very popular.
no, they got shot and exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Over 40%. Over 40% of all the Flammenwerfers in World War One critically malfunctioned, meaning they blew the up. On top of that, the tanks themselves were extremely volatile, and even a grazing shot from a bullet could make that blow up. So it wasn't a popular weapon.
Oh, it's not like they
Well, okay, I'll rephrase that. it was popular with the higher ups. It was popular with people who didn't have to use it.
Yeah, as most things are.
Yeah, but their logic, their defense for this weapon was, if we're brutal now, we don't have to be brutal later, because we'll just scare them into surrender.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well though.
No, it did not. It didn't work at all. But
Yeah, we could probably just do a whole video of World War One and World War Two of the.
oh yeah, we could easily. Fun side note, historically speaking, Adolf was in those trenches too.
Oh yeah.
He was a trench.
I think
He was a scout, a trench scout. I think was his actual
I think
rank.
he was a scout. He also got hit with mustard. No, he got hit with some type of gas.
What was
He
they?
got gassed.
Yeah, he got gassed.
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, we could talk all about that, but no, the trenches were a terrible, terrible place to be. And again,
you got
it
trench foot.
Oh yeah, gangrene.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the gangrene.
Like the rats that were in there on both sides, the
Yeah.
dead bodies, the water,
Mm-hmm.
contaminated water.
Yeah, just standing in mud.
Pretty much for days on end.
My grandfather almost lost his ability to walk to a foxhole. You think I'm joking? No. There was he fought in Vietnam, by the way, in case I haven't mentioned that before. As he told the story, he was trying to get into a foxhole because, surprise, he was being shot at. And apparently when they made this foxhole, they did a really crappy job digging it out. And there was a rock. A very large, pointed rock. Now, when he jumped into the foxhole, to be as small of a target as possible, he rolled in. And so he landed flat on his back, right on top of this rock. And for the rest of his life, he had trouble walking. He used a cane for a lot of the time. Interestingly, though, he refused to use the cane when he would go to work. When he was at work, he wouldn't use his cane. Any other time, he would use his cane. Like if we went to the grocery store or something like that, he'd have that cane. But he was too proud to use it, when he was in a uniform.
Mm.
But yeah, no, Fox. Anytime you're in a hole in war, it's bad. There is no good hole in war.
Even under the
And we're gonna
the foxholes. Yeah.
we're gonna talk more about Vietnam in a little bit. But the Flammenwerfer is such a bizarre thing because how many weapons have you honestly heard of that your own guys were usually probably just as, if not more, demoralized and defeated by it? More than 40% blew up on the people and killed them. And aside from like literally 5 or 6 dudes, everyone else who uses the damn thing refuses to ever touch it again. And some of those people actually run to the other side because they are so horrified of what you made them do.
Meh.
And they didn't stop. I'm sorry, real quick question to my friends here and to the chat. How many deserters would it take to make you finally think, maybe the Flammenwerfer's not a good idea? Like, I mean, at some point, you gotta frickin' take the hint. I'm not crazy here, right? Chat, help me out here. The chat has my back, right?
They always got your back.
Flamin' woof woof. Werfer, you're not wolfing like a dog.
It's pretty fun to say when you're not mispronouncing it. 10 plus.
Oh, my sister is a tactician. It would take double digits to make her reconsider the flamer.
I want to make a whole squadron. Or I'll do what they did during World War II. Attach it to a tank.
Put it on wheels. Yeah?
A flame tank.
Fun little side note for all my nerd friends out there. In Warhammer, the faction known as the Skaven. They use a version of the Flammenwolfer. And in the lore, specifically, the Skaven who are going to use that are set aside specifically because they have sadistic tendencies, so that they will be willing to use it repeatedly. That's an actual little, tiny little Easter egg bit of lore that they penciled in to the old Skaven information as a joke, because for people who don't know, the Skaven are actually loosely inspired by World War I and II Germany, because, they're the villains. People are always shocked by that. It's like, yeah, the most evil faction in Warhammer is based off the most evil faction that ever existed in human history. Who'd have thunk it?
The Skaven? Yeah.
No.
They're such good little boys, aren't they?
Yeah.
But that's also kind of the thing. That's also why you love them, because they're so ridiculously evil. And again, it's all fiction, so it's fun. No one's actually being set on fire.
So
I hope.
far.
I was gonna say I say that and I look over at you.
In the U.S., you can literally go to any hardware store, depending on what gas station, and buy a flamethrower. You don't need a background check. You don't need anything. You just go up, buy it, and there you go.
I won't say his name because I don't know if it is actually legal or not. But someone I know, when I lived in Louisiana, built his own flamethrower with a bunch of welded scrap metal and a can of propane. Brush burner. Brush burner. Again, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't know if it's actually legal to make your own brush burner.
I made a few potato guns.
My grandfather always said he was going to do that with me, but my grandma and my mom always stopped him.
The potato gun or the flamethrower?
The potato gun. I never got to make a potato gun, but my grandfather was always joking that we would go out and make one someday. And my grandma and my mom always stopped him and were like, don't teach him that. Don't do that.
Should have just gone out and just done it anyways. And not said anything until you were done.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
But I don't see your grandpa doing that. He sounds like too much of an honest man.
Yeah, he couldn't. He would never. He would. Okay, I'm gonna say this is gonna sound weird and hypocritical. He never lied. He would play tricks, but there's a difference between a trick and lying per se. There's a difference. One's a joke. One is meant to be funny. One is actual deception, deceit, and stuff like that.
Usually, when someone lies to me, they end up getting handcuffed and go into a cell.
Anyway, but yeah. Now, and real quick to answer your to address Sean, I've heard it pronounced both ways. I've heard it Flammenwolfer and Flammenwerfer, and I don't think there's a different. I think it's tomato, but I've heard it both ways.
I just call it a flamethrower. I'm an American.
Fair enough.
Fire.
But to address you, Sean, I've heard it pronounced both ways, and I assume. I think it's tomato. Flammenwerfer and Flammenwolfer. Connie, don't confess that. Don't say that. This is being recorded. You're going to get yourself in trouble. Or your cousin. Anyway, though.
It's easy to make a potato gun. I can tell you how.
Bishop.
What?
Stop.
What are the things you need?
No!
Or potatoes.
No. Cut the mic if he starts doing that shit.
Technically, all you need
I'm
is...
amazed we have not ever been actually kicked off. If and when it happens, it's going to be me, alright?
No.
I know it'll most likely be because of him.
Jesus.
It'll... Anyway, though. But
On
yeah.
purpose, I sometimes watch what I say.
Sometimes.
That's why I said one of the things you need are potatoes. Yummy potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes are delicious. Like there's a lot of good stuff you can make with potatoes.
Vodka.
And you could send them to 2 neighbors down with just a click of a button. Bam. Give them potatoes.
You actually got one that far?
Yeah, they'll travel a good.
Yeah, if you build
50.
it right, it can.
Remember how they used to have a pumpkin cannon contest in some states?
Which is the exact. It's the exact same.
Yeah,
thing
it's the
as
same
potato
concept.
gun.
It's like literally just macro sized. Instead of a potato, it fires a pumpkin.
I saw a video. A dude made a freaking Gatling gun of a one with a pumpkin. They just put a pumpkin in each one and just shot it.
That sounds awesome.
That actually does sound really cool.
It was great.
Horribly illegal. Horribly illegal, but that does sound freaking
Hey,
awesome.
when you live outside city limits and if you have big enough property, you can do whatever you want.
Valid point, valid point, valid point.
And then somebody's out there trying to catch each pumpkin. Misses everyone except the one he takes to the chest.
Yep.
That would be you.
So, what's the next story?
The next thing we're going to talk about actually is the Vietnam War. One of the worst things that was ever used, and it was completely on accident.
I am the
Sort
Lord.
of.
I speak for the trees, and for some reason, they're speaking Vietnamese. Someone was going to say it, and I had to be it.
So, one of the most misconceived atrocities of war is, of course, the infamous Agent Orange. Which is interesting because actually Agent Orange was one of about a dozen or so different chemicals, actually. They were referred to as the rainbow agents.
Yeah, but Rainbow Orange got more...
Orange, yeah. Orange was the bad one.
Yeah, they got
So-
more popular than the other ones.
Yeah, it was primarily used in... Mr. Bishop, please do not encourage people.
You know, if we do use a tennis ball, it could just bounce off something.
God.
It's better than a baseball.
Mr. Bishop,
Thank you for the advice. I highly appreciate it.
you have been here since day one. You, more than most, should know he's very impressionable. Do not give him ideas. I could be held as an accomplice.
No.
Ho ho!
Nice.
Not as cool.
It's fine. I have an army.
Oh, god damn it. Jesus, seriously, you're gonna knock shit over.
I can't find.
Choopy's on vacation.
Yeah, Choopy's on.
He went to New York.
Anyway,
He was messing with the camera earlier.
so Agent Orange was primarily utilized, hold on here, in Operation Ranch Hand. It was used at other points as well, but the big thing was Ranch Hand. So basically what happened,
I didn't catch any of those.
both of you,
What?
knock it off.
I did nothing wrong.
Yeah,
I'm-
knocked off.
I'm an innocent Mexican.
No. My dad. Kids need toys to play with. Yeah.
Yes, but I don't need jail time. Anyway.
Jail time if you get caught.
Anyway, so basically what had actually happened is, when was it? That was 61 if I'm not mistaken. Hold on here, I have notes. 62. All the way until 71. So I mean, it was pretty much all of America's involvement. Now, what most people don't realize is Agent Orange isn't what you think it was. Because we look back through the lens of history and we talk about how horrible Agent Orange was to humans.
I don't mean to laugh about that, but I was just thinking King of the Hill. When Peggy was describing her cleaning method, and then Hank is like, Peggy, that's Agent Orange. That's mustard gas.
So, anyway, Agent Orange isn't actually what a lot of people think it is. Because we know about it now. Back in Vietnam, and this is going to blow some people's minds, it was actually used as a herbicide, which is to say, it was designed originally to kill plant life. This is because, and I'm just going to be completely honest here, the communist forces of Vietnam were much, much better at the jungle warfare ambush fighting than the American, French, and what were they were a republic? The anti-communist forces.
South Vietnam, yeah,
They were republic?
Republic?
What were they referred to as? Because I know that the North was was?
I don't remember.
They changed,
Yeah.
Again, like most things change a lot. But that's why the Chiefs were speaking Vietnamese.
Yeah. The commies were... Look, I view history neutral. I have no love lost for communism or especially the Vietnamese communists who shot at my grandfather and tried to kill him. But I will acknowledge they were actually really good at that whole guerrilla ambush warfare thing. And one idea that the wonderful, wonderful American government had was, well, let's just have there be not a jungle. They can't use jungle warfare if there's no jungle, right? So they concocted the rainbow agents, of which there were a dozen or so. There was Agent Pink, Agent White, Agent Blue, Agent Black. But Agent Orange was the really nasty customer. And more so, there were actually 3 variations. There was Agent 1, Agent 2, and Agent 3. All of them were intended to be an herbicide that would kill the plant life. And the idea was, if there's no foliage, then the communists don't have the advantage anymore. What they didn't realize was that Agent Orange has a side effect. It produces a chemical. Hold on here. It has a name. What the hell was it called? Damn it. God damn it, where was it? God, what was it called? Dioxin? Dioxin, I think is how you pronounce it.
Dioxin?
I think it's dioxin. It was basically the chemical. Agent Orange itself wasn't actually the problem. It was this. I want to say it was pronounced dioxin or dioxin.
Yeah, them trees weren't speaking Vietnamese after Agent Orange hit the field.
Yeah, it was extremely effective, both at killing plants and, unfortunately, people in extremely slow fashion. In fact, actually, it was a very insidious toxin. Very often, it would cause very mundane effects that initially were thought to be largely harmless. It could cause the typical things you would do when you were exposed to a powder or a chemical in the air. Coughing, reddening of the skin. Odd side note, it often caused acne outbreaks. Excuse me.
Huh.
Yeah, it made you get like pimples and zits and stuff.
Chemicals under the skin break out?
Yeah, it caused acne.
The poor
But it
girl
could-
when it's a jungle, you're sweating like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it could also just straight up kill you. It also has a really bad effect long term of causing birth defects. Some people became infertile, actually.
There's a lot easier ways to do that.
According to the Vietnamese government, there were over, and this is a sincere number, this is their official statement, there were over 3 million cases of health complication in the history of Vietnam that have been caused just because of exposure to Agent Orange, specifically. There's also the other side of the coin with the Americans. Because conveniently, and I'm going to get personal here for a second, so forgive me, because I try to be unbiased, I try to be fair. I'm just going to point something out. Probably going to offend some people, but I'm going to say it anyway. Conveniently, the application of Agent Orange, as well as the other colors, was originally suggested by our allies in Vietnam. It wasn't the Vietnamese that were actually using those chemicals. They had the great idea, but when it came time to actually use the stuff, coincidentally, they couldn't be bothered. It had to be our boys. Boys like my uncle, who went completely insane, by the way. I loved him, but no, he was stark raving mad. And he himself even admitted it was because the chemicals. He was a chemist in Vietnam. Now, the problem with the rainbow agents is that they are a chemical concoction. There is no just Agent Orange in a vial that you can get from Home Depot or something. You make it and then have to immediately deploy it. And unfortunately, being exposed to it can cause brain damage. It was not until... Hell, when did we finally acknowledge it? Yeah.
Probably when the Geneva Convention went, what's going on here?
No. We're talking much more recently. I want to say it was like in the 90s when the U.S. government finally admitted that there were American soldiers who were hurt because of being exposed to the chemicals. And here's the kicker. They confessed this. And I can't find it in my notes here, but if I'm not mistaken, and I'm sure someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was in 92 that they finally confessed that they had hurt American soldiers because they made Americans deploy the various rainbow agents, as they were called back then. But here's the thing. They confessed that they knew back in 1971, they knew that these chemicals could be hazardous to soldiers. However, the United States government, at the time, decided that that was an acceptable risk because it was not used with the intention of spraying on American soldiers.
1991, Congress enacted the Agent Orange Act.
Thank you, 91, excuse me.
Which is not necessarily an admittance, but it is when
we can get to one.
Well, no, they came out and said that, yeah, we knew it was hazardous, we knew it was dangerous, but we still used it because we assumed it would never be turned on our own soldiers.
That's 20 years.
Yeah. And people wonder why I have a chip on my shoulder about Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody has a chip on their shoulder about that. Yeah, 1991, Congress enacted the Agent Orange Act, which gave the Department of Veterans Affairs the authority to declare certain conditions of Agent Orange a medical benefit.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily when they admitted to using it, but that's when they
admitted that, wait, there might be something wrong with these poor men and women.
Yeah, 1991. I was 2.
I wasn't even born yet.
A bit of a lighthearted darkness here. My great uncle Paul, or Uncle Harry, as we also called him. There were times he would joke and he would say, "Hey, pull my finger," and my grandfather would always cut in, "No, don't! He's killed men with that." And I always thought that it was just two old men being cheeky. No, he would apparently. Because my uncle, he always said, deep down, there's only one actual choice that you have to make in your life. One real choice. You either laugh at the world, or it'll make you scream. And he chose to laugh. And he even said that to cope with what was happening, he would scream. He would shout, "Pull my finger," and then throw the chemicals out of the chopper. And Yeah. As I choke on my spit. But no, that was how he kind of got through the immediacy, you know what I mean? Is he made it a joke. Because the alternative was that he would just scream. So yeah, as I said way back in one of our first episodes, fuck anyone who calls it the Vietnam conflict. It was a war. And real quick, by the way, fuck the Congress who took 20 goddamn years to admit that they did that to our men. But yeah, no, it's bizarre because no one remembers Agent Orange, right? Everyone says it's mustard gas. It's not mustard gas. It is a herbicide. It is a chemical concoction supposed to kill plants. Unfortunately, it's a little bit better at killing people.
Yeah, mustard gas was World War
One. No, mustard gas was one.
Yeah, mustard gas was one.
Because everyone jokes that World War I was the gas war. Because gas is really effective against trenches because gas is heavier than air, so it sinks, quote unquote. But anyway, I'm willing to bet there was mustard gas in Vietnam too. With all those tunnels. Oh, God. Being in a tunnel. There's a horror story for you there. You're in a tunnel, and you just hear that hiss.
Godzilla, 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 but
No.
not Godzilla.
That's Japan. That's not Vietnam.
Hey, Godzilla can go where the fuck he wants.
I'm sure there's an equivalent. I'm sure there's a Vietnamese equivalent. Because, like, everybody wanted their own Godzilla. Actually, gotta think of it. Where was Gamera from? Wasn't Gamera? No, was Gamera Japanese?
Gamera is big as a giant flying
Turtle, yeah.
Japanese.
Oh, he.
Where? Okay.
I could have sworn he was from Korea, or he was Korean.
That is wrong. Japanese. Let's see. The
Okay.
original idea for Gamera was developed by Yonejiro Saito. Was intended to compete with the Godzilla film series. These are all Japanese names, but I want to actually read it.
Okay, maybe Gamera was Japanese. I could have sworn it was not Japanese though. But anyway, back to my point. Back to the discussion. Yeah. And yes, Mr. Bishop, you are technically correct. The Congress refuses to acknowledge it as a war. Technically, if you want to get really technical, according to the Congress, America hasn't been in a war since World War II. Because they use other words. And while I'm on my show, and I can say what I want, fuck the Congress.
That was an intervention.
Old man might get mad.
Fuck the old man.
I didn't know you were into that, man. Gotta hide the elderly from Kristoff N.
No, he's the one who can't go like 2 hours without making a joke about tripping grandma down the stairs. Or cooking the wiener dog.
What? No. Anyway, Gamera, yes, is from Japan.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the old man's cool.
You want to do that little salute on camera, sir?
Please don't. I would like to
Yeah.
stay on the air. Mr. Bishop's got my back here. Yeah, way to go. Fuck Congress. Fuck the old man.
Oh, Tara, I remember him, Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, Gamera was on several episodes of Mystery Science Theater. But anyway, yeah, I bear a few grudges with Vietnam. But yeah, it kind of annoys me because everyone gets Agent Orange wrong, and it's like, you have no. As bad as you think Agent Orange is, it's actually worse because that wasn't even what it was supposed to do. They literally didn't even realize, hey, there could be negative consequences to using this poison that's supposedly strong enough to kill a jungle.
We'll worry about that later.
Yeah, and besides, we don't intend to officially use it on our own soldiers, so then it doesn't count if it, drives them insane or permanently scars them or causes a roughly 3 million frickin' birth defects. I mean, who knows what that even means?
It won't be our kids.
I hope so, Tar. But anyway, how about now that we've thoroughly got the algorithm angered, and we've pointed out how bad the U.S. government can screw something up. Let's play devil's advocate for a second here, and talk about a horrifying weapon of war that the American government actually got right. Except for one little problem, that it technically wasn't the American government yet. The American Revolution was a very interesting time to be alive, let's put it that way. Basically, what happened is you had a bunch of farmers, and while they weren't called it at the time, what we would call cowboys, who basically decided that it was kind of stupid to send tax money across the goddamn ocean. Especially when we were the ones who had to pay for the Napoleonic War. Because that worked out so great, didn't it, Georgie? Versus, of course, the British Empire. Now, logistically, obviously, the revolutionaries had a huge advantage. Just like the English and the Brits and stuff like that in World War I, we didn't have to go anywhere to fight. We were right here. You know what I mean? It was the Brits who had to sail across, one of the largest ocean, the second largest ocean in the world? The Atlantic?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the second largest, isn't it? The Pacific is bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that advantage. Unfortunately, the Brits had basically every other advantage you could imagine. They had better trained soldiers. They had better equipment. Things like that. The only advantage we had on them was that it took a long time for them to actually come and smack us in the face. So, the American revolutionaries became really, really good at improvisation. Now, what I'm talking about is, of course, the bayonet. Now,
Affix bayonets!
Amen. Now, the bayonet blade was, for the Brits, seen as a weapon of desperation.
What?
Now, for those who don't know, the bayonet blade was, what would you say they were about, a half a foot long? Foot long?
Yeah.
Yeah, about.
Someone's doing something funny in the chat, I know it, and I want to see what's up.
No, I'm laughing at my own
Head?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
The bayonet blade was somewhere around maybe a little bit under a foot long, I want to say. And it was in some versions were a spike, some were actually a blade. But essentially they would go at the end of a musket or rifle, and it would serve as a panic button if your opponent survived the volley of rifle fire and actually got close to you, and could be used like a spear or a pike. However, the Americans, who would become the Americans, technically it wasn't the country of America yet, the revolutionaries, they actually looked at it and they saw potential with the bayonet. They utilized it as an ambush tool. See, the problem that the Brits had when they came over here was they expected a very formal battle. They expected, squared up units, meeting a distance away from each other, Queensberry rules kind of crap. And then Americans went, it's a good thing you're wearing red, you son of a bitch. Hold my beer.
America.
Damn right.
I'm wearing my red coat and my brown pants.
I hope you are wearing brown pants, because you're going to need it, son. because No, the Brits literally lined
Comments.
themselves up for formal combat.
Look at the comments.
Oh, God damn it. Mr. Bishop, don't let me down.
I was just thinking the bayonet was probably invented so the French could cut the bushes out of the way as they ran.
16 inches. That's what she said. I love seeing our chat just collaborate and work together so well. It warms my heart to see all these people, you know. No, we did not fight fair. We fought ugly. We fought very ugly. And it's funny is that we saw the bayonet blade and we were like, wait, hold on, stop. You're saying I can use a gun quietly?
To stab someone?
Frick!
Say less.
Miracle! No,
They taxed us.
they did grossly unfairly.
Yeah.
Everyone always forgets that. It's annoying. It annoys the crap out of me because everyone talks about the Boston Tea Party, tea tax. No. That wasn't what the founding fathers objected. They objected the way the money was being used because King George was pissing away tons of money to have a slapping contest with Napoleon.
Oh.
Meanwhile, no fresh resources, no, investment was being put into the damn colonies. Kind of ticked us off. And so they gave rise to the claim, no taxation without representation. And yeah, the colonies also didn't get a seat in the parliament.
And he was also taxing us without any care.
Just take it,
F these people overseas,
Yeah.
we're just going to take all their money.
Nothing was coming back. So
No.
why are we paying you taxes? We can just pay ourselves taxes. There's an ocean between us, for crying out loud. What are you going to do? But anyway, here's the thing. Not only did the revolutionaries adopt the use of bayonet blades, not as desperation, but actually as plan A. The plan was,
warfare.
yeah, pop up out of the tall grass, jump down from a tree like a frickin' Pokemon, and stab them with a bayonet. And then when they scatter and break formation, then you shoot them.
Best references to this, example wise, is The Patriot, the movie.
Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
That actually was a pretty cool movie.
Mel Gibson's gone a little cuckoo.
Yeah.
But that man can make some good movies. That's being one of them. One of my favorites.
I was gonna say, actually, in all sincerity, maybe his best movie.
I saw it in theaters. My dad took me.
That is a kind of a tough one because he has, to be fair, he has had some pretty good movies.
Yeah.
But I don't
what
know.
he did in that movie was one of the best examples is one of his kids gets taken hostage. He knows where they're at because they're still on the property. He sets up rifles in certain areas. Has his weapons, has his two other kids. They open fire. He knows who to aim for. He runs, opens fire. Runs, opens fire. They have no idea how many people they're dealing with because they're firing from different locations with different rifles. Back in the day, one shot is all you got with those rifles. And then you had to reload, and it was a whole process. If you were good, you could do it within a few minutes.
I was gonna say, I think the record might be 2 minutes, a minute and a half, something like that.
I've heard I could be wrong. A good person can 3 shots in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Just bam, 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 bam.
But again,
Hypothetically, your average dude.
If you're trained well, but in the movie he had 2 of his younger kids. He then shows up on the other side of them, starts stabbing them, hatchets, blades. Doesn't let any of them get away. But the reason why it worked is because he fired from different spots, and they thought there was more people than just him and his 2 kids.
Yeah. But anyway, But here's the thing that's funny. Not only did we have the idea to basically use the bayonet backwards, because again, the Brits, it was desperation. The Americans, no, that was step 1. Step 1, stab your enemy with a bayonet. Step 2, shoot his friend who's running away. Step 3, reload. Step 4, your friend stabs someone with a bayonet. It was actually very efficient. for dudes literally in overalls and nothing else.
Yeah, because again, like we weren't a formed army. It was just small groups,
Pockets, militias, things like that.
And the best way to fight a formed, organized military tactics. Make them think there's more of you than there is.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as a gunfight starts,
well, yeah, you're gonna get outgunned. You're screwed.
not just that, but like most people are going to be concentrating on what's going on around them, and they're not going to think, hey, there might be a smaller amount of people.
Yeah, panic sets in, things like that. But no, here's the funny thing. So not only did we have the idea to use it backwards, quote unquote, we also took it and was like, you know what would be even nastier? If we reshaped these bayonets and made them triangular. Anyone want to guess why?
More stab wounds.
Because you can't stitch a triangular stab wound.
Back in the day, you couldn't.
I mean, today I'm
It
sure
takes a fucking big team just to be able to stitch you back up.
Yeah, a triangular stab wound is extremely hard to do today under the best of circumstances. Back 200 plus years ago, yeah, dude, no, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. So, yeah, and that's the thing is like, and again, no one talks about this. No one brings this up. But, yeah, no. After the initial few skirmishes and fights, the Brits were like, these guys are fucking crazy. These guys are monsters. What the hell? What? No. First of all, they're fighting backwards. You don't use the bayonet for the fighting. You use that in desperation. Meanwhile, we're just sitting there. Hey, Jeffro, watch this. Hey.
Helsing Abridged.
Oh.
The vampire.
Oh, the priest dude.
Against Alexander, the priest.
Yeah, he had a bunch of bayonets.
Yeah. He's like, you silly, that's not how you use a bayonet. It goes on the edge of your gun.
And then he gets impaled like by 13 freaking bayonet blades.
And then my other favorite part was, sir, I think you're running low on bayonets. Excuse you? I have bayonet for days.
Yeah, Tara got it.
Just opens up his fucking jacket, just fucking bayonets.
He just blades. But yeah, no, the American, because it's always referred to as a bayonet blade. Actually, the ones used by America in the Revolutionary War were not bladed at all. They were just a spike that was hammered into a triangular shape.
Because again, back in the day,
you couldn't do that. You couldn't treat a wound like that. Assuming that you survive a 16-inch piece of metal just jabbing into you, man, you're gonna hope that thing just kills you instantly.
I don't remember where I was at, but I found a book of autopsies, surgeries, and how to I forgot what the proper term is when when they had to cut off a body part.
Amputation.
From like from like the Civil War.
Hold on a second. You tell a story. I have to check something real quick.
Just I looked at it, read it. There were like drawings and shit. There were that was some gnarly shit. Like if you were getting amputated, you would be lucky if you would survive that shit.
Yeah, they didn't have anesthesia back then.
No, you would be awake. So what they would do is they would cut the muscle, move the muscle over, go to the bone, cut where it was supposed to be, move the muscle back to where they cut, and then stitch it back up from there.
Thanks.
But the instruments and stuff that they would use, it was a lot, and it looked like stuff that wouldn't be using an actual operating table, like more of a go down the street for the hardware store and grab all the sharp things from there and bring it back.
In war,
thanks for that picture, Jesus.
In war, you make do of whatever you have on hand. Real quick, while you're on the topic of anesthetics, in the Civil War, the Confederacy actually used a very special kind of anesthetic before surgery.
Moonshine?
Whiskey!
Yeah, whiskey.
Just get someone drunk on whiskey and then amputate their foot off. Now, hold. To be fair, I'm not taking a jab at the Confederacy, because
Everybody did that.
yeah, but I know the joke was the Confederacy doing it, drunk on whiskey, surgeons drunk on whiskey and shit like that. That is pretty horrible, but I will also give them credit for try. I get the idea.
Try to do something.
I get the idea. I get the idea behind it. Personally, there is a problem with that. Alcohol tends to thin the blood, so bleeding would actually be worse if you were drunk. But I get it. They're trying to treat the pain.
If you can tourniquet them and just get them to just fall asleep.
In China, they used to club you over the head with a rock.
Oh God.
You think I'm joking?
No, I can see that happening. But back to why
Hell, they probably
why
still
the
do it today.
bayonet and the gorilla thing was working so well was because back then, overseas, that's how they would fight. Everybody, you would line up, shoot.
It was kind of
shoot.
there was a formality.
Fire,
There was a formality to
fight.
war.
But when they came over here, we didn't do that shit.
Hell no. We were trying to kill them.
But on top of that, everyone was hunting, scavenging, working the lands, looking for deer, whatever. Everyone knew how to use a gun back then. Everyone knew their land. Everyone knew where the good spots were at. So when they came over, they're like, they don't know this place.
No,
They don't know nothing at all over here. We don't technically have to fight the way they do.
We didn't have to fight it their way at all.
Furthermore, if you're able to take a commanding officer out back then,
You don't even need to take anyone else out.
Yeah, because if they can't receive orders, they can't do anything. Because the way they were trained is, you receive your orders. You do not move.
Mm-hmm.
You do not do anything opposite. You do not think for yourself.
Nope.
You do as you're told.
Yep. Meanwhile, the founding fathers are just handing people rifles, going, "Here you go, son. Good luck."
And the funny part is, everybody thinks like.
Real quick, by the way, I'm going to cut you off here because we mentioned the Confederacy. If you're down in Louisiana and you get the chance going by Mansfield around Halloween time, they do these really cool recreations of the aftermath of Mansfield. And it's really freaking cool. So if you're in that region around Halloween time, you should go and check that out. It's freaking awesome.
We should probably do a video go and do that.
We could talk about Mansfield.
There were Civil War reenactments. Sorry.
It would be cool to do. Sorry to cut you off, but to do some videos and then like talk about it and just like put that into.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going back and seeing Mansfield again. Mansfield's cool.
I'm sure they have reenactments here.
I haven't heard.
Was there Civil War fighting in Colorado?
No.
Down at the Capitol, there's a memorial, but it was mostly rebels. We were a territory here.
Yeah, we weren't. Yeah, we weren't in the Revolutionary.
But so was Oregon.
That is kind of odd.
Anyway,
But no, it's funny because Mansfield isn't a recreation of the battle itself. It's the aftermath. Mansfield was one of the most violent, bloody battles of the Civil War. And my sister brought it up, and it was freaking cool and absolutely horrifying. And we brought little kids.
Well, of course.
We brought little kids, and they did a reenactment of an amputation.
I'm sure my dad will chime in, but I went to Civil War reenactments. They were usually in April, I think. They had them in Oregon.
Huh.
I think they were over a weekend.
Yeah, but I think all that stuff's over like on that part of the country.
I don't know.
At the most, we can probably get like something that happened up in the Alamo.
If I'm not mistaken, they also did a reenactment of executing a traitor. And they actually fired off a Civil War rifle. By the way, if you think those things are loud, you're wrong. It's louder than you think.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Revolutionary War, the bayonet blade. It's one of those weird things that it's like, it's such a simple thing. You wouldn't think it's that big of a deal. But one could make an argument that it's the most important 16 inches that you've ever seen.
The deepest I've ever been in anybody.
Yeah,
Giggity.
Buckets of limbs, people screaming, yep.
The other thing too is most people think that like our founding fathers were like these old fucking farts, but they weren't.
No, they were young at
They
the
were
time of
young.
the war. They were young,
like our age.
I
They were-
think
little bit
younger.
older, maybe
Yeah, they were.
I think
30. Yeah, no, they.
I mean, I guess they were like 40. But
No, they were in their 30s. I want to say off the top of my head, but no, it kind of annoys me because like it's always glossed over. The American Revolution was one of the most violent
Oh yeah.
wars ever, and it was purely because of the fact that the Americans gave zero fucks and were as brutal and vicious as they could. Like seriously, it was.
The way I see it is this: if you start from modern times and you go backwards, the more brutal, dark, twisted shit
You will
happens
find.
further back.
Yeah.
'Cause nowadays, we can have most of our soldiers here operating drones.
Oh yeah, no. We are
Bombing,
one step
doing-
away from full on droid freaking fighting with a goddamn PlayStation controller.
Yeah, and
Warfare.
then on top of that, most conflicts that happen now, it's units. We're not sending massive amounts of troops like we did back in the day. There's no more transport. Transfer.
We really don't, and I know this is gonna sound hypocritical because a minute ago I just said yes, Vietnam was a war. It wasn't a conflict or some crap like that. It was a war, and I still believe that. But it's kind of funny by today's standards. Yeah, I'll admit, ever since World War II, we really haven't had war in the same kind of sense as the Civil War or the Revolutionary War. What we have today would be compared back then to just urban skirmishes, pretty much. Like, not even full-on war. I mean, it's still war. I ask that to any damn soldier who's lucky enough or unlucky enough, depending on your opinion, to actually, get back.
And like, yeah, we still send a massive amount of troops over there, but it's not
Way too damn many.
not the amount that it used to be when
Oh yeah, no.
conflicts would break out.
War is completely different these days, and it's kind of a luxury in a weird way.
It's becoming a privatized.
Yeah,
Everything else now.
it's very different. But anyway, no, the bayonet was one of these ridiculously practical things that was also one of the most horrifically brutal. In fact, there were entire battles that the American revolutionaries won, and they never even bothered firing. It was literally just ambushing, charging, and stabbing. And the thing is the British soldiers were like, I say, what on earth are they doing? Oh, good heavens! Well, this is a spot of bother.
Is it time for tea?
Oh.
Unfortunately, he's being stabbed by like the most cynical, snarky,
It's
Frickin'
in the bay.
American. He goes like, okay, just draws a T on him with his freaking bayonet blade like Zorro. To be fair, that would be kind of awesome. I would be that dumbass freaking revolution. Like, oh, you want tea? Okay, here you go. I would do that. I'd probably get shot immediately because I was taking too long, but I would totally be the guy to do that. Put that on my headstone. I'm the dumbass that wrote a T.
What'd you find, Bear?
I was just looking up wars by death totals, and this doesn't really help.
But yeah, no. The it's kind of funny when you think about it. The Americans had the same idea as the Germans in World War One, back in the Revolutionary War. No, be as terrifying and savage as possible. The difference is that it worked with the revolutionaries. The Germans' plan didn't work out so well. But
Well, I also have to look at it this way. World War II.
oh,
World War One. Communication was still a thing. We were still sending riders out, stuff like that. But
oh, jeez.
both sides were on the same continent. Both
Yeah.
commanding units were on the same continent. So, Revolutionary War, our shit was here. They had a way from Mya to send letters to Mya to tell them what to Mya do.
Yeah, and vice versa.
And then, like, hey, this is what's happening. What do we do?
Fun side note. So most people don't know this, but in his later years, King George, he started to have mental decline and he was becoming forgetful. So he started writing a diary to help him remember stuff. Do you know what he wrote in his diary the day that the Americans actually declared revolution and started fighting?
What?
Nothing really happened today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Nothing really happened today. Now, keep in mind,
It
he
just-
had no way of knowing. And to be fair, a lot of people argue, oh, it's likely that it wasn't the same day. It was probably like maybe the same. When the war started, he didn't know. He had no way to know. And as far as he was concerned, from his side of the planet, it was just a normal day. Nothing happened really.
Bert, how long would it take for a sail ship from back in the day from here, if it takes off from here to take it over there? I know it's like a few months.
To cross the Atlantic Ocean on a sailboat?
From Virginia
To
Liverpool?
Blackpool? I'm not sure, actually.
1776. I want to say it was like 3 days at least for their fastest ships. Let me look that up.
Well, how long did it take for,
It had to be more than 3 days.
It wasn't like nowadays where it's just like
Oh,
instant.
yeah, you could get
Like a ship.
you could get across the Atlantic in no time with today's ships.
Sail.
But a
No,
sailboat
back then it was
then?
a sailboat. You had to wait for
Days and days.
Days.
Under the best of circumstances, I want to say it would take maybe a week.
because you got to catch the wind.
You gotta catch the wind. You have no storms or complications.
Back in Columbus's day, sailing from England to America could take you anywhere between 6 weeks and 4 months, depending on the wind and weather.
That's a month and a half.
Yeah, so that makes sense why
From
For
his
him,
perspective,
nothing was going on.
yeah, nothing was happening.
And as soon as it started, it would take
A month and a half.
a month and a half for him to get
In the best of circumstances, it would take a month and a half.
to
To
know what's
work.
going on, and then from there, get the troops he needs, get the supplies he needs,
And start
get
moving.
the funding he needs, and then start sending
Fun
them
side
over.
note. Fun side note. Shortly before the war actually started, George warned the Parliament. The colonies are not going to take being treated like this. We need a plan to pacify them. And the Parliament thought he was crazy.
The thing is, like, everyone likes to blame it on him, but no, the way they do things is like, yeah, he's the king, but
Honestly, it was really more the Parliament.
yeah, like the
I mean,
Parliament-
you could argue that yeah, he was the one who just had to go and try and kick Napoleon in the balls, but
the Parliament still did, like, they still had a say.
they had say, they had a power to. They could
Even
have.
to this day, they still do.
If you want to get really technical today, the Parliament is a more powerful political entity than the freaking Crown.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's modern, so. But yeah, no, I always felt kind of bad for George. Mainly because, yeah, this was a guy who was in mental decline, and then there's a war on the other side of the ocean, and that he has to manage it, and he's the one who's responsible for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, I do feel kind of bad for the dumbass. But you want to... Yeah, Mr. Bishop is saying 3 months. More realistically, yeah, probably 3 months is more realistic. But you want to end it on a happy note, guys? You want to talk about something kind of funny? This weapon, I don't know if I'd call it a horror of war. Because it's actually kind of comedic.
Pigeons?
No. I'm talking about one of the funniest weapons to say its name, the Jezzail. I'm going to give everyone a moment to go, what? A Jezzail was a Muslim rifle used by the Pashtuns? I think that's how you pronounce it. Modern day Iranians. Pashtun. I think it's pronounced Pashtun. Anyway, They were a large Eastern Iranian tribe. And they had the brilliant idea. Hey, buddy, you know what would be really convenient? If we could shoot someone who's near the curvature of the planet. Wouldn't that be convenient?
Mm-hmm.
So, they endeavored to make a gun that could shoot ridiculously far. They didn't care about the accuracy. They didn't care about the reloading because look how far away the guy is. He's not going to be able to do anything. You have all the time in the world to reload. Well, they figured the longer the gun, the farther the bullet would travel. Which I'm not sure if that's accurate or not. I'm not sure how that works. Is it the barrel that just... I don't know. But that was their theory. So I want you to picture something. A gun whose rifle is... Hold on here. I'll see if I have the exact number.
Oh. You lied to me, Cop.
The Giselle itself roughly weighed anywhere from 14 pounds and...
How long was the barrel?
Apparently it varied.
Thank you, Bishop.
Huh. That is weird. It doesn't actually give a length. So here's the problem with that. According to my notes here, the Giselle was not a wide-produced weapon. In fact, actually, they were custom-made. Sometimes they were even referred to as the personal rifle. Because, again, this was a very awkward, clunky weapon. And its barrel, I want to say, the barrel was a good 2-3 feet long.
You know what this
Don't quote me on that, but anyway.
What it kind of reminds me of? The sniper rifle, the sniper dude from Bash Stampede.
Oh, the ridiculously
No,
long.
that ridiculously long one where he's like dragging it behind him and like...
Yeah.
And it's like...
So, here's the funny thing about the Giselle. It was so long that actually it was a two-man rifle. Yep. You would have a guy in front, and he would either have a shield or a stick. I'm not joking. A stick that you would rest the top of the rifle on. And you'd have a guy in the back, and the dude holding the shield or the stick would tilt his head over the barrel so he could look at the sights, the marker, and he would tell the guy behind him, okay, slightly to the left, a little bit down, okay, pull the trigger! And they would shoot. They were claimed to fire a... They were said to commonly fire a 19 millimeter bullet. Ow is right. But the thing is, they were so awkward and clunky that, again, they were not mass-produced. They were made for individual users, thus the nickname, the personal rifle.
I can't see that being all that fucking accurate.
It was not accurate. It wasn't designed to be accurate. It was designed to fire far away. By the way, you're holding the shield or the stick that's holding up the barrel. How long do you have hearing in this ear? I feel bad for the dude who had to hold the front.
Someone shoot a Mosin right next to my ear, and it was ringing for a few days, and I've been having hearing problems since then.
Yeah.
So something that big, not that fucking long. I almost beat the shit out of that dude.
I wonder if they would trade. It's like, okay, Phil, it's my turn to pull the trigger. You hold the gun.
What?
Somebody actually shot right next to you?
Yeah.
Ow. But anyway.
Ow.
Now, the weapon itself, like I said, as you said, it was actually terribly inaccurate. But again, that wasn't the point. The point was to fire very, very far away.
That's a waste of resources.
What if I told you a city was conquered by a group of Giselle shooters?
I call bullshit.
Well, there.
Kabul. The city of Kabul during the Anglo-Afghan War in 1842. A team of 7 Giselle teams, so 14 dudes, surrounded the city and used mirrors to signal at each other. And one by one, they all fired into the city. And by the time that the 7 men did a round, the first guy was ready to shoot again. And so you had non-stop fire. Which led, the Brits, who were controlling the city at the time, to flee because they thought that, 1, they were surrounded, and 2, there must be hundreds of them out there. It doesn't matter if they're accurate, it's non-stop fire hitting you. They retreated. 14 guys. You're smiling like I'm making this up. It's true. 14 men in 2-man teams surrounded the city of Kabul and just constantly rained horribly inaccurate fire. But here's the thing. They couldn't see who the hell was shooting at them. Where are these shots? It's literally just raining bullets. What the hell is going on? And meanwhile, they're all fine because, again, they can't hit us. They can't even see us. They literally just used a mirror to signal, okay, start shooting, dude. Wait, count so long, and then fire, because that'll be your turn. And no, 14 men with one of the most impractical, stupidest, most ridiculous guns in human history conquered the city of Kabul. So you were saying something about it being impractical and useless.
It's still impractical and useless. I stand by what I said.
After that.
Well, there was the Paris gun. People in chat can look it up.
Okay, but yeah.
It was a German weapon.
No.
Is that the one that Hitler was trying to make to be able to shoot England from friggin'...
Yeah.
To hit Paris from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
No, he tried making another one where he can hit from one coast to the other coast. It is straight into England.
Sounds right.
Sounds like him. But anyway, no.
Man.
I actually like the Giselle. Because it's so ridiculous. And it worked. It paid off. In spades. Of course, today they're horribly inefficient and outdated. But nowadays, Giselles are highly sought after artifacts. Like, there are gun collectors who will pay millions of dollars for a Giselle. But what's funny is, and this is the most beautiful example of sour grapes. The Brits had a lot of egg on their face. You lost a whole city to 14 guys. 7 guns. 7 guns between these dudes. The Brits absolutely did everything. Oh, no. And in the most beautiful, bitter, sour grapes way. They did everything they could to run down and trash talk and shame the Giselle, claiming that it was a coward's weapon, that it was a dumb idea by sand people and things like that. And it became regarded as a cad's weapon, a coward's weapon. Anyone bad, any villain in literature had a Giselle, even if it didn't make any sense. Like it was the cad's cane, they called it. I know, right? Although to be fair, with a 2 to 3 foot long barrel, you could use it like a cane.
Yeah.
But no, they were so, what would the kids say? Salty. They were so salty about
their ass.
about losing the city of Kabul to 14 guys that they literally rewrote freaking literature, like seriously, any chance that they could to try and say, hey, you know Giselle guys? Yeah, they're assholes. They suck.
This was the French, right?
No, Brits.
Oh, never mind.
Even worse.
You're talking about so much running.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? You would think it'd be the French who would lose a city to 14 dudes with 7 guns. I want to point that out. This was not 14 guns on the city. No. It was 7 guns shared between 2-man teams. So you had 14 men, 7 guns, 1 city conquered. And the Brits would not let this go for years. For years and years, they kept harping on how evil the Giselle is.
I bet I know why.
Because they were embarrassed.
Anytime they would bring that up, I was like, yeah, but you did lose that city, though.
Kabul, no less. Kabul's not nothing. Kabul is a big freaking city. Is it Kabul or Kabul?
Is it the one in Iraq?
I think so. Kabul.
Kabul.
Kabul, excuse me.
Or, and I've heard it both ways.
Is it tomato?
Kind of. Yeah.
Kind of, okay. Kabul. They lost Kabul. And keep in mind, this wasn't like, a civilian population running away. No, this was a military occupation. This was their army. So how's your army doing? Oh, that's right. It ran away from 14 dudes out in the sand. Embarrassing. And so they tried everything they could. Anytime that the Brits could... They were salty. They were all the salty. They needed...
I would behead my entire military.
You'd be...
All the commanding officers.
Oh. That guillotine was the French. The Brits hung. They hung people. Oh, no, they used the axe. They beheaded people with an axe, huh?
America hung people.
Yeah, America was the hangers. But no. Yeah, real quick, what would you do if you were the British king and you heard that you lost the city of Kabul? And your soldiers were like, "Oh no, they had us surrounded. They had constant fire. And we couldn't even see them. They had invisible gunmen that were shooting at us." And you find out that it was 14 little Iranian dudes out in the desert with freaking comedically long toy rifles.
Cut his head off, cut his head off, cut his head off, cut his head off.
You get an execution! And you get an execution! You're all getting executed!
Not just that.
Embarrassing.
Your entire bloodline.
Oh, god damn.
The French have ran away from less people. We're okay.
I don't know. I think that might be the biggest underdog victory in any war. 14 men took a whole city.
That's pretty
my
impressive.
army with nothing but children with those long guns.
Those Giselle children soldiers.
It was one of the comments.
Oh.
Yeah, that's Donson.
Sean would say that. I think 5 kids could operate one.
This chair needs greased.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, though. But yeah, no, I wanted to end on. Oh yeah, ooh, spooky. I wanted to end on that more lighthearted note because tonight was a pretty heavier, darker topic. But I love the Giselle. It's such it's such a stupid idea. It's literally just put as long a barrel as possible on it. Nothing else matters.
I thought you...
And yet, the Giselle easily was the biggest underdog victory in military history. Like, seriously, where else can you find... Chat, help me out here. Can anyone think of a war, or a battle, I should say, a battle where a smaller number of people conquered a freaking city? 14 people, that has to be a record. 14 guys took an entire city, a big one, a major city. We're not talking about like taking over a settlement or an airport or some shit like that. I'm talking about a full-on militarily occupied major city that fell to 14 dudes. I'm sorry, that's got to be a record. But no, seriously, and also the Giselle, today it's like this huge, they're seen as these beautiful artwork pieces. Because again, every single Giselle was individually made, specifically for its user. So today they're priceless artifacts, you know what I mean? Like, I've literally seen them being sold for like a couple million.
Australia lost a war against birds.
I'm talking about people, okay? No smaller army of humans has pulled off a victory like that. The Giselle has got to be a record for the smallest victorious army. Plus, to be fair, it's kind of just a cool name to say. Giselle. Sounds cool. I like it. I personally think it's a really cool weapon, and it's just so ridiculous. Again, I think it's funny. It's ridiculous. I am willing to die on this hill. It is the most ridiculous gun ever made that actually was made before anyone brings up any of the ridiculous ideas that the Nazis tried to build and crap. No. These were made. They functioned. Yes, I did. Because they existed. I'm sorry. They were a thing. And they were dumbasses. And they tried to make ridiculous weapons of war. And most of them failed. The Giselle.
Oh, that giant tank that Hitler wanted to be made?
Mm-hmm. The mole cannon that could go underwater, swim across the Atlantic Ocean, burrow underground, and attack New York City subways. You're smiling, but I'm dead serious.
Heard of that one, but
I haven't heard about that one, but
the Nazi mole tank. This was a concept.
That is like some straight up Dr. Evil.
Isn't it though?
The incredible supervillain.
Oh God, wasn't there a mole?
Yeah, it's Mole Man.
No, the Underminer.
Yeah, it was the Underminer.
Yeah, he showed up at the very end of the Incredibles movie. Basically, that thing. No, literally.
Undermining?
Oh, my lack of a god. Anyway, my point is, I love the Giselle because it's such a stupid, ridiculous thing. And if I had infinite money, I absolutely would seek one out and get one. And, like, put it on the wall. That'd be a cool trophy. Because, I've seen pictures. Some of them are really freaking pretty. Because, again, they were, like, custom made, individually made. So they had, like, filigree and fancy carvings and shit. Yeah, he was based on a real Superman, Fantastic Four villain. But anyway, I like that gun. It's a funny, stupid gun. And it actually worked. So kudos to the Iranians. Well, they weren't the Iranians, they were the Pashtun. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pashtun. Pashtun. Pashtun, I think, or Pashtun. Basically, there were Iran is today. Anyway, though. But yeah, no, I wanted to end on a lighter note, and I've always thought that's a cool weapon and just stupid.
Well, last show you guys teased about Canada and birds and war crimes and some late.
Yeah. Well, we're getting pretty late, and we're actually well over time.
I was actually waiting for that story because I don't know that story.
What should we talk about next week, guys?
That's a really good question. Wait, hold on. Double check something real quick. Okay, yeah, I can make it next week. It's the week after.
Become Sean's idea. Make your own Giselle. That would be kind of cool.
It's like making a potato gun. Just make it big.
That's actually the thing. No, they weren't big. They were very slender and even though they weighed like 15 pounds, most of the weight was just in how much metal was used in it. It was actually a very slender, thin thing. But anyway, you know what we haven't talked about recently, and we still need to get around to doing? We're on a path to one cryptid from every state.
No, I haven't done one for this month yet.
We have not done one for this month yet. So yeah, there you go. Next. My little brother was so excited to hear about the Loveland frog, and then this guy just
Oh, a frog pulling a wand out
his ass like Harry Potter. I think that was what you said exactly.
Ah,
Pulled the fucking wand out of his goddamn ass thinking he was Harry Potter. No, I'm goddamn right, he's just a damn frog. And all he's good for is frog leg food. I still say that's probably the easiest cryptid we can probably go out and go catch.
Loveland frog? No, they're pretty sly and sneaky.
What would be the easiest cryptid?
I still think that they're practically just giant frogs.
Colorado bolter? Because I mean, supposedly they're stupid as hell.
Well, how do you do a frog hunt? You have a spear, you have a flashlight. You stun them, and then you stab them. But with this one, we'll stun them, put them in a fishing net, hang them up all nice and high. There we go. And then becomes a subject for experiments.
I'm just picturing the creature from the Black Lagoon, how they clubbed him with a gun and then just threw a net over him casually. But yeah, no, next week we're going to continue our quest to do a cryptid from every state. No. Stop it. Anyway, boys and girls, thank you all for coming and being here with us tonight. I know it was probably not the most conventional or pleasant show, but I am your host, Kristoff N. This is my wonderful minority for tax reasons.
Yeah. And your little brother with Mothman texting him for date night. Of course you would, Sean.
Silence, minion.
What?
We got the bishop in the corner.
Hi,
These are my
Sean.
wonderful doggos, Famine and Gluttony. We'll see you guys next week.
What states are we talking about?
Well, I'm not going to tell them that. They need to have some suspense. But as always, keep checking the shadows.